I love seeing the Bible come to life. I love seeing the Book of Mormon come to life. But my thought has always been this: if you like the video, go read the book. You'll love it.
People are drawn in by hope. And I feel like as long as you show hope that's real and authentic, then the right people will find you.
So meaningful is because it starts with our team member, our employee, sacrificing something.
Hello and welcome to Latter-day Profiles. I'm Brian Howard. We're here on the campus of Brigham Young University, Idaho, and joining me today are some good friends, Erica, Nate, and Emmy Eaton.
Hi.
Yeah, good to have you here. Good to be here. So if you're from Southeast Idaho, you'll know Nate because he is the news director of East Idaho News. Been doing that for 9 years?
Yeah, 8 years now.
8 years now. And Erica also was a student at BYU Idaho. Did you guys, you knew each other here, right?
We did.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Yes.
A little bit. But Erica's from Virginia, and so she did an internship at Nate's news station back in Virginia, and that's where they made the love connection.
That's right.
So awesome. And then they moved out here to Idaho, and that's where Emmy was born out here in Idaho. I was born in Virginia. Oh, you were born in Virginia?
Yeah.
Oh, and you moved back to Idaho. Oh, that's right. And you've got two little brothers, and they were born in Idaho. Emmy does 7 Questions with Emmy that started a couple of years ago, and we're going to talk about that. But Emmy's interviewed a lot of people, and she's been on a lot of sets, and so she thought our set was okay, but maybe not as nice as Drew Barrymore's, right? That was a pretty cool place to be.
It's pretty cool here.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you like it. Well, let me ask you a couple questions. First, I'm going to ask your parents a question. So you guys have always been really comfortable with social media. I remember you guys you've been on Let's Make a Deal, The Price is Right, your viral video when you were having your last child went viral for your singing capabilities, right?
Or lack of singing capabilities.
So, how's it been? You know, you're that age group where social media was just really getting to be a big deal, right? And you've always been comfortable with that. Your courtship even, you took a lot of photos, that kind of thing. How come you've been so comfortable, I guess, sharing your life with others on social media? Eric, I'll ask you first. You've been okay with that?
I don't know if I'm as comfortable as Nate is with that, but I have mostly willingly gone along with it. I think that is our generation's thing, so we've just kind of naturally grown into it.
Yeah, one of those natural things. Nate, I know it's something you've really enjoyed. Of course, you wanted to be a journalist from being really young, right?
Yeah.
So it's something you've always liked.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that...
Just like me.
Just like Emmy. That's kind of the way the business has gone over the years where, and I saw it even my reporting, reaching out to contacts, trying to build sources. Social media is a good way to connect with those people, not only in professional life, but also in a personal life. And as a TV journalist, you build that relationship with the audience. So when we were going to have our first baby, I did a little breaking news report, and posted it for the viewers. And then we decided to do some mock music videos, never expecting that Good Morning America would air them or that it would go viral because we can't sing. At least I can't sing.
I cannot
and
I can.
I mean, I think one of the headlines when we did that is the most annoying baby announcement you'll ever hear. So there was a little bit of negativity with that, a little bit of pushback, but we still enjoyed it and still do it to this day.
Yeah. If you want some amusement, then definitely Google that. I Googled it up, still sitting out there on the internet. So the baby announcements out there, easy for you to find as well.
I'm telling them to make another one.
Yeah, tell them to make another one. Well, we'll see how that goes. Making no big announcements.
We have no news
Only to
report
today. Maybe the video will be something
The
else.
next big announcement is it better be an interview with Zac Efron for me.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Zac Efron. Well, that would be an awesome interview as well. We had some really good interviews. Let's talk. Emmy, how did the idea for 7 Questions with Emmy come about? How did that happen?
So it actually was not my idea.
Okay.
So we were in Island Park. It was around my birthday, I'm pretty sure. We went on a river rafting thing. It was at our hotel, and my dad went live. It was just as he was covering this big news story, and someone in the comments commented, "You should interview your dad, Emmy." And I was just jumping around. And then so once we got back, I interviewed Dad, and then my mom, and then my brother, and a bunch of other local people. And my dad was working with Keith Morrison on a story at that time.
Yeah, and remember, Keith Morris is with Dateline NBC, right? Okay.
So he asked Keith to do an interview with me, and he's like, "Sure." And then right the day that Keith Morrison was posted, we got calls from Lester Holt, we got calls from Drew Barrymore, and then it just exploded, and now I'm doing all these famous people like you.
Like me. Wow. Thanks for including me in that category. That makes me feel pretty good. But Nate, what do you think about that? Did an interview with you, and then I guess, Keith Morrison was kind of the big one that propelled it out there.
Yeah. It started as just a small project. As Emmy said, she was in the video, and people are like, Emmy, you're cute. You should interview your dad. And these interviews just kind of caught on. Our neighbor owns a Mexican restaurant, and he did one with Emmy. And so I was working with Keith, and Keith is so nice and just so genuine. And I said, hey, my daughter's doing this thing. Would you mind? He's like, sure. And so we did it quickly. I mean, we didn't really even set it up. And I don't know if we pre-wrote questions.
I remember after school, I was like, my mom was like, we got to go fast. You have to do an interview. And she was pedaling as fast as she could. Yeah. And I remember, I think we did have questions prepared, and there was this paper, and I would not show the audience my camera. I was just covering it with my face.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
I felt better. Yeah.
Come a long way. So Keith was nice to say yes, and then Nightly News wanted to do a story with NBC, and it just kind of took off, and then, sponsors started to reach out saying, can we sponsor 7 Questions with Emmy?
Yes. My doctor's sponsoring.
Yeah.
Very nice, yeah.
So it worked out. We decided we'll do this weekly, and we'll try to get a variety of people, and it's turned into some very large, famous people we thought would never say yes, and then of course Emmy has the people she hopes will still say yes.
And it's amazing, like every time we go out, we usually know someone who comes up and says like, hey, I love your stories that you do.
Yeah, how do you like that when they come up and talk to you?
It depends on the moment, because if I'm like having a diva moment, then no. But if I'm like happy, then yes.
Erica, does she have any diva moments? Does that happen occasionally?
She has a few of them, and we just have to remind her.
What happened today?
She is 9. She is 9.
9 years old. Well, that's kind of a challenge, being 9 years old. It's really cool that you can do that. But Erica, when this started taking off, what do you feel about that? Because this is your daughter, and she's out on television and on the internet. What do you think about it?
Well, with kids, it's always a little bit stressful because you just think there's a lot of strange people out there, and what will they think of it? And just in Nate's line of work, a lot of comments cannot be very positive and uplifting, and so that was my biggest concern going into it.
But I've never gotten any bad comments.
Yeah, I don't think many people are very kind. She's 9, but that was my main concern. But I think she's always had a little light to her, and it's nice that she's able to share that with other people.
Except for when I'm having my diva moments.
All right. Well, hopefully those are few and far between, right? So, was it your dad that what he does that made you want to be a journalist? Do you still want to be a journalist? Is that your goal?
I mean, yes, I would love to be a journalist. But I've always been curious since I was like 3. I've always asked questions, and sometimes it annoys Mom and Dad because I ask too many questions. But like, I've always liked asking questions, and it's also I follow my dad's footsteps. Yeah. But now he's following my footsteps.
Yeah. He's trying to keep up with
Trying to keep up with you.
Yeah.
But I want to be a journalist, a dolphin trainer, a singer, a dancer, a makeup artist, a fashion model, and a lot of other things.
Wow.
And a mom.
And a mom. That's good. I'm glad
Mom.
you can't forget a mom in there as well. The dolphin trainer is the one that kind of jumps out to me. That one's pretty interesting. But good luck with that. Not a lot of dolphins around, but it sounds like fun.
Yeah.
What did you think when you got to some of those studios? So you got invited to go cool places like back to New York. How was New York? Did you like it?
So fun. We saw Wicked on Broadway, and we saw the Rockettes Christmas show. We saw a bunch of like fun. So we saw the Beach Boys and John Stamos perform together. And we got to do a lot of cool things, like go on Drew Barrymore. And it was always like the little things that made you feel the best, like recording on Janice Dean's podcast, or watching the street performers perform out on the street.
Sure. So you know a lot of names of people that most 9-year-olds probably don't know who they are. How come is that?
Sometimes I don't know the people that I'm doing the interviews with until Dad explains it to me.
Okay. You have to figure that's right, because a lot of those people are a little bit older, and you have to be a little older to know who they are. So now you know a lot of people.
Yes.
You've had a lot of interviews. Any of your favorites? I know Drew Barrymore is a lot of fun for you to interview, or to interview you as well. But who are some of your favorites? That's hard to say because there's so many, right?
And I don't want to say, like, if I said Drew Barrymore, then Hoda Kotb might get her feelings hurt.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to hurt their feelings. That's true.
But I'd say, like, it's weird because most people think, oh, your favorite's probably just like the celebrities, but it's actually not. Like, it's the little people who count, you know, like the mailman and like ice cream makers and stuff.
Yeah, you've done a lot of those with a lot of interesting people, especially someone's locally. I asked your parents, you know, Nate, you're pretty busy. You know, we just came out of a season. If you haven't seen it, then they have a Secret Santa. Secret Santa donates $1 million or $2 million, a lot of money to a lot of people who are really needed and very, very great. If you Google that, you'll see the Secret Santa East Idaho News. I think you told me this year you did like 75 different ones. You're busy, busy, busy. Then you try to include, you know, 2 boys and school, and then everything Emmy's doing. How do you guys try and figure out what to do and what not to do, and then these travel opportunities?
Yeah, this Christmas season we fit in a trip to New York right in the middle of all the craziness of Secret Santa. But I think early on we spoke with another, Drew Barrymore Show, after Emmy appeared once or twice, reached out and said, can she be a contributor, meaning have regular appearances, and that would involve trips to New York and more in-depth involvement with the show. And we were, you know, we discussed it, and we reached out to another LDS family who is quite famous online and said, hey, how did you deal with this? And I remember they wrote back and said, take advantage of it, spread as much light as you can, and don't do anything for money. You know, she's 8, she's 9. You'll probably get offers from questionable companies or productions that want to do stuff with her. Don't do anything for money. And then in talking with Drew Barrymore, Drew kind of told us the same thing, that, you know, children shouldn't be doing adult things in most cases. Let her be a child. Let her do this. And if Emmy ever wants to stop doing it, we'll stop doing it. And we're not going to try to make a living off of our daughter. And so that has been helpful to have that advice. And we just figure when these opportunities come along that, yeah, we have to jump at it. I mean, we turned down an invitation to a red carpet event in LA because the production wasn't quite up to, we didn't think it would be appropriate for Emmy to go cover it. So we just kind of take it as it comes and realize that the opportunities might not come along again, and do it while we can. And it was a very crazy month, but we kind of like craziness. If it's quiet, we're bored.
Erica, tell me about that as far as the family goes. I mean, that is a lot to juggle. How do you feel about all that? But you have had some fun family opportunities to go places that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise.
We do. Yeah. I told Nate's mom, actually, when we got married, I just know I'll never be bored. There will always be an adventure, and he has definitely kept that end of the bargain. You know, balancing family, sometimes different things take different priorities. And so it has been a tricky balance to make sure that everybody feels included, and with her brothers and things like that. But I think that once we realize that maybe, you know, either work or her interviews or whatever, if there's been an unbalance, we just try to course correct and come back, because family is what's important and our first priority before some of these other things.
And all the money I make goes to my college, and hopefully I'll go here.
Yeah, it would be awesome to take after your parents. I think you'll have a lot of choices, so good for you.
You could be my professor.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, I've got to age well so I can still be your professor when you come along. That's right. I feel old when my kids of my students start coming to class. Right, it's been a long time.
It's coming sooner than you think.
Yeah, I mean, how do you have some favorites that you'd like to have on guests, but how do you pick guests? I know some people ask you; they want you to interview them. How does that happen?
Yes.
How do you pick those people?
So like, for instance, the other night I said, hey Dad, can I interview so-and-so? And he'll reach out to them, and if they say yes, then they say yes, and if they say no, then they say no. But sometimes, like how I got Matthew McConaughey how I got to interview Matthew McConaughey was because we try to do it like when the person has new movies coming out. Like Sing 2 was just coming out when I interviewed Matthew McConaughey, and so they said yes because it promotes it. So it's kind of like that, and sometimes Dad picks people that he wants to interview, so then it's like I'm living his dream and stuff.
Way to go, that's good. Well, that's probably the way I do it too as well. So you have typically 7 questions. I know you always have bonus questions, so that's good. Do you get Mom and Dad to help you? How do you come up with your 7 questions?
It honestly depends, because if Mom and Dad know more about this person, then I have them help me sometimes. But sometimes, like, if I'm like curious about Mike Rowe, say, like, how do you get all of your dirty jobs done? I'd say, well, put this as a question. Like when I did my interview with Gentry, I wanted to wonder what their most embarrassing moment on stage was. So I said, well, we got to put that one in there. But sometimes Mom and Dad help me if I am really stumped or something. But we do lots of research. I've made PowerPoints on some people. And
Yeah, it's a lot of work to get to know what to ask people questions. It seems like it's easy when you're asking questions, but you've put a lot of work into it, haven't you?
And it honestly all depends on the person.
One of the questions that's almost always asked, because we're in Idaho, what's the question?
Is, have you ever been to Idaho and tried our famous potatoes?
Oh, yeah, and what do they say? Do they like our potatoes?
Yes.
Yeah,
Some people haven't tried them. Some
Okay.
people have tried Alaskan potatoes.
There was once, Walker Hayes, the country singer, is the only person who's ever said he does not like potatoes.
Oh, man.
So the rest of most people love potatoes.
Almost had to cut that interview, right? It was like, people can't support potatoes.
And if I'm doing the interview in person in Idaho, I'll just say, have you ever tried our Idaho potatoes, and what's your favorite way to have potatoes?
Yeah.
So then you still have the two questions asked in one, and not just have you ever been to Idaho? Well, we're in Idaho.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was thinking, when COVID came around, everyone was doing stuff by Zoom. And you do most of your interviews by Zoom.
Yeah.
I think Mom and Dad probably help you set things up. How was that, setting it up? It's probably interesting to see them on camera and you're talking back and forth. How does that work? Do Mom and Dad, you help set that up so you can have some technical support?
Usually they're after school, and so they're at 3. 30, and our school ends at 3:20, so we gotta hurry. And so Mom and Dad usually set it up and then go pick me up from school, but sometimes I'll put the names on my big light box, and I'll sometimes it depends, honestly, if it's on Fridays, because we have no school on Fridays. So if it's on Fridays, then I'm not going, then I set it up. But if it's...
We try to make sure you have a little responsibility for it too.
So
but she sometimes just gets to plop and drop in the chair and go.
And practice my questions.
Practice
you
your
gotta
questions.
practice the questions, or else you'll be okay, question number 2. And then you will say the wrong things and you keep stuttering, you'll say, well, I think that so-and-so is nice, when the question really was, what's your favorite food or something.
I'm glad you practiced, so you do really well with that. One of my favorite interviews you did was with Elder and Sister Bednar. And what did you think, by the way, if you haven't seen this one, Elder and Sister Bednar paid a surprise visit to your primary.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I had no clue that they were coming, not one single clue. And I got to, so it was Sunday, and
How did it come about though? First, Emmy, tell them how it came about.
So Daddy and Mom got married by Elder Bednar. Yeah.
Yeah, but you did an interview with him, and he said he was coming to Idaho.
He said he was coming to Idaho, and I'm really? Where are you going? And he didn't answer, so I just said, well, you should come to my primary. And so then a couple months later, there's this knock on the primary room door, and then I see Elder and Sister Bednar, and I freaked out. I was oh, they're here, and I ran to hug them. But it was I had no clue that they were coming to our primary.
Yeah. How do you make you feel to have Elder Bednar and Sister Bednar come to see you at your primary?
So happy. And the funny thing was, Sister Bednar said, and the whole reason we're here is because of Emmy. And then she looked at me, and then everyone in the sacrament building looked at me. And I was just
Well, that's great. And he does have a special connection. He was President Bednar of the BYU Idaho, Rick's College in the BYU Idaho, and married to Nate and Erica. And so that was a pretty cool experience. So you already have a connection with the Bednars. How did you feel about that, him showing up? When did you know that he was going to show up to your church?
Well, it was pretty cool because I actually had him as a professor when I was a student here for a religion class, and then he was called to be in the Quorum of the 12. And so we kind of kept in touch over the years. He sealed us, and after he did the interview, it was several weeks. After Emmy did the interview, it was several weeks when I got an email from his secretary who said, this has to be kept quiet, but the Bednars would like to visit Emmy's primary. Are you going to be in town on such and such a date? And we said we were, and we kind of went back and forth on how we could pull off a fun surprise. And the Bednars really wanted to be a surprise. So very few people in the ward knew. And
the bishop knew. And
the
then
bishop did know, yes.
That morning, like, the announcement came in, and I was wondering, wait, why is everyone coming in so early? Because we were there at like 7, and our church started at 9, and everyone was coming in early, and I'm like, Mom, Dad, why is everyone coming early? And they were just like, I guess they just want to see. They told us we were taking baptism pictures for my brother. And they're like, I guess everybody just wants to see us take our baptism pictures.
We took a few photos that day with the Bednars.
Oh, that's good. Well, yeah, I had to get that early, of course, because I had to make sure everything's already good in the church for when the Bednars would come. So,
and who doesn't want the Bednars in their baptism invitations?
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Well, good. So let me ask both Nate and Erica, where do you go from here? This is kind of a challenging thing, right? So no one gets a handbook to be a parent, and no one gets a handbook to be a parent of someone who's doing cool things like this. What do you think of this, and how do you move forward? It's kind of a challenging thing, but also fun, I guess, at the same time.
I sure wish it came with a handbook. That would be amazing. I'll let you take that.
You know, I don't know if Emmy will still be doing this when she's 12 or 15. There has been some interest about making it bigger, making her segment bigger, maybe turning it into a show. If the right thing came along, I think we'd do it. But again, if she decided that she wanted to be done with it, we would be fine with that and enjoy it while we could, while we have. But she's showing no sign of slowing down, so we'll see. We'll see. She might have her own daytime talk show sometime, somewhere.
I can take over Latter-day Profiling.
Or hosting this show. Yeah.
We'll need you. Yeah, I'm getting old. We're going to need somebody pretty soon. Yeah, you'd be great for Drew Barrymore. And one of the reasons we do this show is because we want to share good things, light, with everybody. And I think that's one of the things that you're doing. It's nice when there's so much stuff on the internet and social media that's negative, to find something that's happy and enjoyable. And how do you feel about doing this? Do you get comments from people that say, "Hey, I so appreciate the stuff that you do"? What do they tell you, Emmy?
Yeah, so some people have been so nice and no pressure, but some, like, you don't have to do this, but some people have actually sent me, like, things, like, well, some people I've interviewed, and some people just, like, out of the kindness of their heart. Like Carrie Bradley, she sent me a gumball machine, a big gumball machine, and
we got an email
yes.
recently from a therapist who actually shows some of Emmy's interviews to her kid clients, the clients that come in, and how it's helpful for the kids to see another child doing these things and conversing with adults and asking questions and being curious. It was a very touching email on how even the therapist said when she's having a sad day or she's down, she'll turn on some of Emmy's interviews to be happy. And there's been people that are 80 and 90 years old and in old folks' homes that have emailed Emmy saying, "I look forward to your interviews every week." So it is a way to share some goodness, and not the negatives. The interviews are never negative. They're positive, they're uplifting, and I think people are touched by it. And I think the people she interviews are more likely to maybe open up in ways they haven't with a traditional type journalist.
When he says when he says emails me, he means they email his phone that is linked to my email account, but he reads them before me to make sure they're
Yes,
not
we're
like,
responsible
Emmy,
parents.
And we manage all of her social media. She's not on there.
if people commented, "Emmy, you suck, you're the worst," then they would not show it to me.
That's right.
They haven't done that.
They haven't done that, so I'm so glad that they haven't.
Yeah.
One of the things I really appreciated also is, like, when you got baptized, that you shared that on social media.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that without proselyting or preaching, to be able to show goodness in your family. And let me ask Nate and Eric about that. There's nothing you've ever been reticent about that, sharing who you are as far as your religion, your beliefs. Is it, how do you feel about that? And do you think about that as sharing who you are as far as your religious background?
I think it's just part of who we are. Honestly, I mean, Nate and I were both blessed to be raised in the church, but you can't separate that part out for me. That just is who I am. I think that it would be inauthentic not to share that in our lives.
And I have a very visible career, and some of the stories I cover bring out some negative commenters when I post things maybe about my faith. I actually get a lot of support and encouragement from those who aren't of our faith, who are strong in theirs, who post, people that I worked with on the East Coast who post things about their faith or scriptures or prayers, things like that. And I see how strong they are sharing their beliefs. And I think, well, it's okay, you know, if we share ours. As you said, we're not preaching to anybody, and we just want to share good things and good positive messages, especially through Emmy's 7 questions pages.
Rainbows, puppies, sparkles, and everything happens.
Cupcakes.
And cupcakes. Well, I really appreciate all you're doing, and I enjoy your interviews, Emmy. Ever since you started them, I've been following along, partly because I know your parents, but also because they're a lot of fun to watch. So I want to thank you for coming. Nate,
Thank
Erica, and Emmy Eaton, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
So fun.
Thank you.